I took some classes at UCLA, and that really changed everything. One of my professors there, who I refer to as my writing mentor, and he actually helped me publish the cancer memoir.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's amazing. I can't say enough good stuff about him. He's the smartest, coolest, most wonderful guy I've ever met. And he was my teacher, I think, for 3 different classes. And I remember being like, man, I love this guy so much. Like, I hope we can sort of go from teacher/student into bros and go get a cocktail and hang out. And that's actually what happened. So yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about him. Freddie is his name. And, he's the one that told me, he's like, you're actually a good writer. Like, have you ever thought about writing or blogging or anything? And I was like, no, not at all. So he was kind of bugging me lightly for maybe a year to try and just start a blog, do anything. So it's so awful. I did start a blog called the Kim Tronicals, because very, very cute pun there, Kim. I started a blog just to get comfortable getting the words from my head onto a computer screen. And I go back and read my earlier blogs, and I'm surprised I haven't taken them down yet. It's so embarrassing. The second blog post I ever wrote, I think it was from 2013. And I went to Gay Pride in West Hollywood, and my cell phone and my wallet got stolen. And the blog post was titled, "I wish a unicorn stole my wallet." And it was this stupid paragraph about how I went to Gay Pride, I lost my wallet and my cell phone, but I had this awesome idea that maybe a gay unicorn was just kind of drunk and dancing around and stole my wallet, and that would be fine because it's all about love and sparkles and unity, and it's so cringeworthy. And I'm really embarrassed that I haven't even deleted it yet. But the point is, there's a lot of not so intelligent, articulate content there in that blog. But the good thing is, it kind of helped me get over my fear of is what I'm writing good? The answer is no, it was not good. Are people going to judge it? The answer is yes, people probably judged it because it is garbage. But that's what it takes to be a creator, right? You're a creator as well. It takes a lot of practice to get good at your craft. So those early blog posts are probably similar to a graphic artist in their earlier works, or a painter in their earlier works, a songwriter in their, anything in the arts, anything in the creation space. It takes time to get good at what you do for the most part.
Even when you do get good, you still have shitty work. I mean, as a writer, you have shitty first drafts. My songs, when they start out, a lot of them aren't that great. You have to work on them to make them good,
Oh, to this day. And in fact, now I've been writing for 7 years about, and the first draft of the script I wrote, I sent it to my brother, who's a very talented director and producer. And I was like, will you read this? And he, bless his heart, he gave me these amazing notes. And now I'm really doing a heavy revision before I send it back to him to take a look at. But I'm looking at that first draft and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad no one saw that except a trusted family member, because it is crap. But you know what? That also gives you a platform to mold and create and fine tune and put new life and energy into it. So, you always got to start somewhere. So back to the tangents that I started upon was, the earlier works, not so good. But eventually I just kept writing and things kind of started getting better. And now I think I have the eye to look back and say wow, I've come a long way. So that's a good spot to be in. And I'm grateful to have had all this time to really hone things in the way I have.
Do you still take classes, or do you have any writing people that you a group or anything, or is it just you and a laptop in a room?
A little bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter of the idea that learning, there's always more to learn, right? So I think I'll never just be I'm done learning about writing, and I don't think that'll ever happen. And that's not even fun, is it? Isn't it always fun to grow and evolve and learn new things and try new things? I think that's one of the most exciting things about life. So in fact, just maybe a month or 2 ago, really recently, the gentleman who edited my cancer memoir, he's on the East Coast. He's a very, very, very talented individual. And so he edited my cancer memoir. He really turned it into something I was happy with. He's a brilliant writer himself. And I noticed he always does these writing workshops on the East Coast. And I've always been sort of sad that I've never been able to attend one. But because of COVID, he moved them all online. And just randomly on a whim, I saw that he posted about a fiction writing workshop that he was doing. So I think I signed up the night before online, and I was able to actually for the first time meet him face to face digitally for the workshop. And it was so cool getting to meet him. He knows my story so well because he edited the book, and now I'm taking a class from him. And I learned so much just in that 5 days in his digital writing workshop. And my book is a memoir. It's nonfiction. It's exactly how it happened. But taking his writing workshop and learning how to write fiction was so exciting for me. And now I have this great thing that I'm going to work on at some point and write a fiction story. So I think, we're never done learning, and it's exciting that there's always opportunities to further yourself that way. So for the most part, I do just write with myself and my cats and my laptop and my plants, but also I enjoy those sort of collaborative spaces where you're working with other writers.
So when your memoir is written kind of like almost like diary entries, day to day, exactly what you were going through, was it literally like a diary that you kept of the whole time, and then you kind of molded it to be in book form, or how did that happen?
Right. So the way this came together is actually funny to look back at. I got the diagnosis in April of 2017. And so, I've been blogging for fun for, about 4 years or so. I had a decent portfolio doing freelance copywriting. So writing was very true to my heart and still is. But I get the diagnosis. A couple weeks later, my mom says, what if you just kind of write this stuff down? You're a writer. Why don't you just kind of keep notes, keep a diary, keep something? And I remember clearly saying to her, are you nuts? This is the most horrifying, terrible experience of my life. Why would I want to write this down and remember this? I'm trying to forget everything that's going on. Like, I'm trying to escape my reality. Why would I want to further that reality and put it in ink? And she said, all right, well, at least think about it. And I said, sure, no, I'm not going to. And then maybe next week, my brother, the one I was mentioning, who's a director and producer, he said, I also think you should write this down. I said, are you convening with mom about this? No, I don't want to do this. And he said, just think about it. So then after my brother says that, after my mom says that, I stop. I said, you know what? All right, fine. I'll just write down some bullet points. I'll write down what's happening. So I just started a Google Doc and started jotting down about everything that was going on, how scared I was, how surreal it was. And then after a while, I really started to get into it because I realized if you've had a bad day at work, what makes you feel better? Venting either to a coworker, a family member, who, a friend, roommate, whatever. The act of sort of purging out the darkness feels great, and then you feel better. So writing sort of became that purging for me, where I was like, I'm so scared, I'm gonna die. And then I go home, furiously type it out. And I was like, felt a little cleansed. I just kept up with it. I kept writing. Everything is going down. And that became a very key coping mechanism in addition to the humor and the wigs. I think writing became one of those really key components of helping me handle my journey in the manner that I did. For months and months and months and months, as all these just kind of blah, train of thought, venting, diary writings. And then at the end of the year, when I finished everything up, I said, okay, this feels pretty complete. Maybe I'll publish this as just a small little ebook, and maybe I can help someone, I don't know, going through cancer or something. So by that time, I'd been in therapy for a few months, and I mentioned to my therapist, I'm going to publish this teensy tiny little ebook. I don't know, no one's probably going to read it. And he said to me, well, okay, great, but why make it a tiny little ebook? Why not put some effort into it? Why not put some design into it? Why not make it a print book? Why aim so low, basically? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I could aim a little higher. He's like, yes, aim a little higher. What are you doing? He sort of, got me to wake up yeah, aim higher. Why are you aiming so low? Come on. Under his encouragement and tutelage, then I started to take the book a bit more seriously. Then I hired that wonderful editor, John, that I mentioned. I hired a really professional designer who designed the front and back covers and the interior, and then did a bunch of research as far as how to self-publish. And that all took months and months and months. But eventually I was right, aim higher. And that was a good learning moment too, because now going into the script writing portion of things, I am aiming higher. That lesson that started from just a tiny little ebook, not really thinking I can do it. Now I'm just like, no, girl, reach for the stars. We're going on Oprah.
Yeah. I mean, I think so many of us are guilty of that, of just not aiming higher because I don't know what that's about. If it's just about not seeing it, like you have to see it first in order to aim for it, or maybe not wanting to feel like, not wanting to fail, which I totally get. I'm not sure why we do that, but so many of us do that. So I'm glad you gotten over that.
Thank you to my therapist, who's basically like my emotional sponsor to keep me happy. But I think you just touched upon a really key point that I love dissecting, which is the fear of failure. One of the key takeaways that I call quote unquote key takeaways from the end of my book, where I have my like 8 life lessons or whatever, is the difference between fear and hope. And I very much led a fear-based existence before cancer, which is ironic because cancer is like the scariest thing. But before cancer, I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could publish a book. I certainly wouldn't have even tried writing a script. I, hadn't tried weightlifting. I was just scared of failing, I think that's what it was. It's just fear of failure. Because if you don't try it, then you can't fail at it, right? And if you really put yourself out there, which is scary, it could be rejected. People might not like it. So if you keep yourself sort of back into a corner and small and safe, nobody can hurt you or judge your work, right? Then I realized at some point, like, fear really does hold you back in a lot of ways. It can prevent you from taking risks, from growing, from accomplishing amazing things because you're afraid. Then the flip side to that coin is hope. What if we lived in a place of hope instead of fear? I hope this will do well. I hope I can accomplish this. And just that small little perspective shift going from fear to hope changes everything, because I feel like when fear can hold you back, hope does the opposite. It propels you forward. It pushes you out there to take that risk. It pushes you out there to write a script when you have no idea what you're doing. It pushes you to start lifting weights, which I had no idea what I was doing at the time, and now I do. That little shift from fear to hope is so powerful. And that really changed my life for the better. Again, when I said cancer brought a lot of good into my life, that is one of the key things that I'll never lose sight of, even today.
That's great.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And giving yourself permission to fail. I mean, that was a hard lesson to learn for me as a young person. The first time I failed really hard was when my band broke up. Well, my band and everything. And that messed me up for a long time because I didn't know how to fail. I didn't know you fail and you pick yourself back up and you keep going and you try again, Instead, I failed and then stayed in a really bad spot for a couple of years, which didn't have to be like that, So I think it is so important to just know, failure is just part of the process. That's just how you get better. You got to fail a whole bunch on the way up the ladder to getting better.
That's exactly it. And there's like one of those little memes that I love where, it shows the beginning point and the end point, and there's a straight arrow from the beginning to the end. And it said, this is what most people think success is like. And then the other side of it, it has the beginning and the end, and it has triangles and circles and crosses out and frowny faces. And that's what it actually looks like, right? So you have to fail. And as much as it's awful and it's humbling and it makes you feel awful, but with every failure, I think you're one step closer to that success. So it's a part of it, right?
Yeah.
How do we get better if we fail and make mistakes?
You don't. I'm sure even Einstein made a lot of mistakes on the way to figuring out E equals mc squared.
Yeah.
So now you're writing the script, and it's kind of an adaptation of what you went through?
Yes. Actually, along that exact topic, the version 1 of this script that I gave to my brother was very closely related to what happened in the book, which is exactly what happened in life. And bless my brother's heart for being so talented and recognizing not quite enough drama. What if we make my character a little more of a hot mess in the beginning? And I'm like, ugh, really? I guess. And so now I'm actually really taking creative liberties to make it, look, reading my memoir exactly how it happened is one thing, because you're there with me on the journey and I'm being so honest about everything that's happening. But that doesn't necessarily translate to a great arc in a TV show, right?
No, we've all seen books